Hey, Deanna Seymour here with a quick heads up. This is a collection of past shows and ongoing experiments. You're going to hear different intros and old ads, but the ideas still hold up. You can tell where you're at by the cover art. And if you ever want to chat about life and business, check out my free community at jointheplayhouse.com. Hey, I'm Deanna Seymour. Welcome to another episode of Cool People Doing Cool Things, where I interview cool people doing cool things. Today I'm talking to Kate Sage, an ADHD and executive function coach who supports adults through a personalized, learning-centered approach. I asked Kate to come on and talk about her weekly podcast digest, and we're going to dig into what it is, how it works, and her results. But as you listen, I would love for you to start thinking about what you could make inspired by something that you're already doing in your business. So she used to be a language arts teacher. I used to be an art teacher. This is a really fun episode. So listen in, get inspired, and enjoy the show. Hey, Kate, how's it going?
Hey, good to see you. Good morning.
You too. Okay, I'm so excited to record this. For anybody listening, I recently did a 9 grid for Kate and immediately was like, okay, ADHD coach, executive functioning coach. Like, I loved your messaging. I loved your vibe. And so I was like, okay, we're going to be friends. And then this is how I trick people into being my friend, by inviting them on my podcast.
I love it. And I will just say too, it's an honor after several decades to be nominated as a cool person. So thank you. It took a long time, but thank you.
So welcome. Oh my gosh. This series is, I mean, obviously it's not the most creative name, Cool People Doing Cool Things, but I just was like, I want to talk to cool people when I see them doing cool things. And so let's give the people a little bit of background before we jump into the cool thing that I want us to talk about today. So tell the people just a little bit about you and your work. And I know I already sort of spilled the beans on who you work with, but give us the scoop.
Great. So I'm Kate Sage. I'm an executive function and ADHD coach for adults. I'm a former teacher, so I approach coaching from a learning perspective. And let's see, what else? Of course, I help adults with time management skills and figuring out a workflow that works for the way that they learn and process. But honestly, I feel like what I keep coming back to in conversations with clients is ways to help busy, overwhelmed adults give themselves more compassion when they're struggling and see that it's not a personal failure. There are a lot of cognitive, holistic, real world reasons why we all have a hard time. And I think if we can just find ways to be a little more gentle with ourselves on the days when we are struggling and to build a toolkit and think about what is in our control to adapt and modify as needed so that we can get through the day and be a little nicer to ourselves. Really, that's my ultimate goal.
I love it. And that definitely comes through in your work and on your website and hopefully in your 9 grid. Okay. So while we were working on your 9 grid, I'm always like, okay, where do you want people to go? And you were like, I want them to get the F off this platform. Like, I'm not trying to hang out on these nasty billionaire created platforms. Strong feelings on that, which I also love. And one of the things that you do in your email newsletter is what you call a podcast digest.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
You are. Yep.
Okay. So tell us what that is, because honestly, that was the thing that I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Anytime I see somebody like talking about their work in a way that I haven't seen before or creating something brand new that I haven't seen before, I'm like, hold up, mind blown. Tell us about this podcast digest. Because I think most of us feel the pressure to just like start a podcast or do a thing. And you're like, hold up, here's what I'm going to do. So tell us about that.
First of all, it must be so cool in your job to just get to talk to so many different kinds of professionals about their work and what they do. Like that I would just love that. So I'll talk about what it is and then maybe we can talk about where it came from. But once a week-ish, most Wednesdays, I always say, most Wednesdays, I send out a short podcast digest. If you're familiar with Blinkist, I don't know if you've ever heard of that app. It's very ADHD friendly. It's an app that gives a very brief summary of a book and bullet points of like, this book might be for you if. Basically, that's what the podcast digest is. So each week I feature someone else's podcast. I want to be clear, it's not mine. But I feature somebody else's podcast episode about ADHD, neurodiversity, executive functioning, mental health, um, daily strategies, really anything that's connected to my work. There's always a link to that podcast episode. And then it's 3 sections. So there's a key point summary. Basically, here are the main talking points of the episode. Um, this might be for you if, which is just a quick little shortcut for letting people know what they might take away from it. And then the last part, really, I think, is the most direct marketing part of it, and it's what lingers in my coaching brain. So that's really my interpretations. It might be what I personally, for my own work or just for my own life, found useful about that episode. It might be, this reminds me of a story that came out of a recent coaching appointment with a client. It might be, this is an issue that I don't think we're talking about enough when it comes to ADHD or to mental health. I choose a variety of creators. I think the world of ADHD focused podcasts, I think, is still mostly white female creators, and I really try to not feature only
Mm-hmm.
that demographic, but really a wide demographic, wide variety of topics. The episodes are always under an hour long. They're usually between like 25 and 40 minutes. And I try to keep them from within the last 3 years. So pretty recent too.
Okay.
Yeah. So that comes out most Wednesdays on my mailing list.
Awesome. Okay, so how long have you been doing it?
Oh gosh, that's probably something I should know off the top of my head. It's been a little over a year. Edition number 67 just
Oh
came out
wow.
actually right before we started recording this today. And I've only missed a couple weeks. So that tells me it's been a little over a year
Yeah,
since I've been doing this.
that's awesome. See, the reason I'm asking
Yeah.
is just because I love it when people find something that
Mhm.
feels sustainable for them. And like over
Yes.
a year is amazing.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah.
So congrats on that. I love
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. And honestly, it's a way of holding myself accountable for further research because I really like podcasts and I listen to them often on my own anyway, but this gives me a reason to keep listening. And it
Hmm.
gives me I always feel like that's something I miss about teaching is like if I can talk to people about a shared media experience, I take so much more away from it. So, I don't even know how many people actually end up listening to the episode that I feature, but it's a way to hold myself accountable for no, I do want to keep learning. I do want to keep hearing from a variety of voices. Um, this is a way to keep myself doing that, hold myself accountable to do that regularly.
Yeah, I love also, I'm probably maybe, I mean, you can weigh in on this, but the reason that's also
Mhm.
sustainable for you is because it's you being able to create content off of something that you want to do anyways
Yeah,
is
yeah,
perfect. Like you're saying, it's kind of
absolutely.
for you on one
Hmm.
level, and then
Yeah,
it's like a bonus that you get to sort of
yeah,
digest the material, which you want to do anyways, to grow from.
yeah,
And then you're just like
absolutely.
sharing it.
Yeah.
One thing that also caught my eye about it is that it's collaborative. Like you're shouting out other voices and other
Mhm.
people's work, which I think, we all say, I'm like, we all say that thing I can't remember right now. What do people say? Like competition. Oh my God, I always sound like George Bush when I try to say something like this. What do they say? Collaboration over competition. Is that what they say?
Yes, I like that.
And people
Uh-huh.
say it,
Yeah,
but I think when you get into it, some people still get nervous. Like they might say it,
I
but
think
then
so too.
when you start to dig into it, they're like, but why would I? But what? This is like another ADHD. Like, why would
Hmm.
I shout out this podcast
Hmm.
who's talking to my same people? So
Right.
I always love when I see people doing the thing because it is lots of people say it, but I don't think everybody really
Hmm.
leans into it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And that's something that's interesting is like I don't think these creators know that I'm featuring them. I mean, I have a very modest at this point mailing list. Modest, I will say, modest but loyal. talking about metrics for a second. I looked recently at the open rate for my podcast digest. And of course, I send other marketing emails as well, but my weekly podcast digest has my highest open rate. And I think my average is 58% open rate.
Yeah.
So yeah, modest following, but loyal following. But I don't, most of the time, I mean, occasionally I'll post about it on Instagram and tag the podcast that I featured that week. But yeah, for the most part, I don't think that the people I'm featuring even know that they're being featured. But I hope it gets them some more followers. I mean, I intentionally choose the episodes that I'm featuring. I try to feature lesser known podcasts. And yeah, so I hope it gets people some more followers.
Yeah. I think that's interesting. I mean, you didn't ask for feedback, so can I just say something? Can I say an opinion?
Please.
Okay. I think you should definitely let them know. Like, email them and just be like, hey, I'm Kate. I just think your episode was really cool, and I just want to let you know that I featured it in my digest. Just to like expand your network and let them know.
I like that. I don't know why that feels scary for me, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad idea. I think actually the fact that I feel a little scared about it means it's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I want to keep thinking about that.
Yeah. Especially if you ever want to, not that we're doing it like tit for tat, but like if you ever want to do more podcast interviews, those will be your people. Like, I mean, they should be your people if they're not.
Yeah. I did I did 3 podcast interviews last year. It was cool. My a goal that I had for 2025 was to be on one podcast, and I ended up being on 3. But I'd love to be on some more because I really like it. And I think, again, I know we haven't really dived into, oh gosh, I'm a former language arts teacher. We haven't jumped into
well, I'm an art teacher, so I'm not helping. I'm not helping with anything. I'm like the art teacher. Well, I don't know. What are standardized tests? Who cares? No, just kidding.
I love it. We haven't really jumped into the marketing angle yet, but I do think I think my vibe comes through in conversation, and I think it comes through in my writing. I love writing. And I think the podcast digest and being on podcasts are 2 strong ways for me to do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, especially because you are not supporting those social media platforms.
No, I really don't want to. It's social media is a necessary evil, but attention is currency. And I don't want to be giving my currency to those billionaire companies right now.
Yeah. Same. Okay, so let's talk about, do you think, I'm trying to figure out how to frame this question, but like specifically for your audience, right? I think that the thing that you built makes sense, a lot of sense for your audience. Like we talked about how it helps you stay consistent and do the thing.
Absolutely.
But also I think, and I am speaking for all ADHD people right now because I have ADHD, but I'm like, I'm like, I think the podcast digest is so smart because the reason I think you're getting those open rates and people are interested is because they're like, okay, I don't have time to be listening to like every podcast, or I don't want to accidentally go down a rabbit hole and listen to like all the podcasts of this one person when really Kate can help me figure out which one is gonna be awesome. And like you're saying, they might not be even listening to the podcast, but you're giving them kind of the value from the podcast without them having to go listen for 45 minutes. But also I love that you're also being mindful about how long the episodes are. Like the whole thing is great for you, but also very specific for your audience, which is super valuable for them.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Oh, my brain wants to go in 17 different directions right now. There's so many things I'm excited to talk about. Let's see, where can I start? I think for one thing, even if people on my mailing list don't decide to work directly with me, either through joining my accountability community that I have on Discord or working one-on-one with me in coaching, the weekly podcast digest still has value. There are still resources that people can take away from that, even if they aren't working with me directly. They can still learn. I think podcasts are so validating. I mean, just hearing somebody else's experience and realizing, oh, I'm not the only one who experiences this. Or like today, the episode that I featured is about emotional flooding. And I think sometimes just having language for what we're experiencing is so empowering. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about is just giving people something they can use through my marketing, even if they aren't working with me directly. That's really important to me. Um, and yes, I mean, it's intentionally structured. And I think something I'm really proud of is this podcast digest is actually a reinvention of a previous idea that I ran for a while and then put on hold to rethink. So, one of the things I miss most about teaching is collaborative discussions, like I said, around shared media experiences. I taught high school English and I loved class discussions. I miss that so much. I mean, even I taught Macbeth was one of my favorite things to teach. And I taught Macbeth for years and years. And every time I taught that play, a student would make me think of something that I had never taken away from the play before. And that is just such a beautiful human experience. We all read the same thing, we all listened to the same podcast episode, but we took different things away from it.
Mm-hmm.
So, pretty early on in my coaching career, I was thinking about how neurodivergent people are so naturally curious. That's not, it's not a DSM criteria for diagnosis, but I really feel in my heart that that is a defining trait of neurodivergence is natural curiosity. And that is so beautiful. And I love it. Um, and so I think people want to learn. They want to know what other ideas are out there and how else I might approach this topic, or I might add on to what I'm already doing in my routine. So I ended up, okay, but yes, brain, what are you doing? I think kind of a natural way to do that is a book club, but I know myself, I know the people I work with, and having to read a whole book on a schedule, sometimes, yeah, I see you shaking your head. Like it doesn't work for everybody.
Mm-mm.
And there are people who think, okay, if I can't keep up with the schedule, then like I don't belong in a book club.
Mm-hmm.
And they miss out on that social experience. And I think right now, especially, that is something that people are really craving is social connection. And that can feel so much easier when you come to something like a book club, knowing like, okay, we've all got something in common. We all read the same book. So I was thinking, how could I do this for people who are too busy to keep up with the book club schedule? So I ended up starting a podcast discussion club. I think that was like late 2004 that I started that. No, not sorry, 2024.
Okay.
But yeah, same kind of idea, under an hour long. Um, and it was a virtual podcast discussion club. It was a lot of fun. We usually had like between 6 and 8 people, which was a great size.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did that for like 8 or 9 months. And it was a lot of fun, but it wasn't growing. So I just decided, okay, let me put this on pause and come back to it. So that's where the weekly podcast digest came from is I could at least give people something to listen to and think about,
Mm-hmm.
even if there isn't a discussion element of it. Um, but that's what made me decide to bring it back. And yeah, make really thinking about like, who do I want to reach? And what is the most accessible way for them to engage with this information in a way that's not like laden with shame or a lot of expectations around their time? And that's where the podcast I just came from.
I love it. Okay, two things popped up for me while you were talking. Number one, you were talking about when there's like a word that we can label something, I guess. I know like
Yes.
labels can be
Mhm.
bad, but
Sure.
when I first learned about being overstimulated, I was like, oh my
No.
gosh, because I don't think I really experienced that until after I had kids. And then it was like a lot of
Mm.
mom shame because it was mostly overstimulation through my kids. And I was like, oh
Yes.
my God, why am I getting so cranky? This is supposed to be beautiful and
Yes.
fun and amazing. And I'm like, please stop
Mm-hmm.
grabbing me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
please get off of me. Like, it was crazy. And when I watched, like, a TikTok or reel or something, when I was like, oh, I think I'm overstimulated. I think that's an
Yeah.
ADHD thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Just that allows you to
Totally.
be like, oh, okay, this is totally normal for the way my brain works, for the
Sure.
way I am.
Yes.
And I can
Yes.
like totally let go of that. And also, I
Mhm.
just am real with my kids now. I'm like, ooh, too much. Like sometimes it's too much for me. And then I'm
Yes.
always like, but I still love you. And like we've had that conversation. So it's not like, I mean, I'm also gluten free and they just know like
Yeah.
I'm not eating that cookie because it doesn't usually make me feel good.
Yeah.
This is like too much
Yeah.
snuggling back up,
This is
this is
mom's
too
factory
loud. This is
settings.
too
Yep.
much. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So there was that. And then I also wanted to point out, because I know you were saying, and I love that you're saying you want it to be valuable whether they work with you or they don't work with you. But
Mhm.
what I think is really great is that you are at the end, and of course, like I've seen your podcast digest because when we worked together,
Mhm.
I got to view a few of
Yeah.
them. At the end, like your voice does really come through and your expertise and the like, this is why this is important. This is what I want to point out. And I think even though you're kind of leading with like quote unquote someone else's work or
Mhm.
someone else's
Mhm.
podcast, it's in your realm of expertise and you're kind of putting your own spin on it and you're also making it like actionable for the people reading it. Like
Yeah.
you're
Oh,
you're
thank you.
turning it from like listening to a podcast to like processing the podcast.
Yeah, I like
And
that. I like that.
yeah, and like even, people like Brene Brown and they write these books, but
Mhm.
she's constantly like this person does research on play and here's what they say and this is this
Yes.
person's take on this thing and like so I think for anybody listening, and I know we talked about the collaboration, competition, whatever.
Mhm.
I'm messing it up
Mhm.
again, but we all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it shows like extra confidence that you're like, I'm not sweating it. Like I'm showing
Yeah.
this podcast and I'm giving you my take on it and like work with me, work with them. But I just want to
Yeah.
give you props and say that
Thank
your
you.
expertise comes through even though you're highlighting, other stuff. Just like, you didn't
Yeah.
write Macbeth, but you were the
No,
teacher in
I
that
did not.
class. And like, you were like facilitating that discussion. So I love that.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Can I say a couple follow-up
Yeah.
things about
Yeah.
that? Um, First of all, my brain doing what it does. I just thought like, ooh, I have a podcast episode I want to send you, and it's about parenting shame around being overstimulated by your kids. But that's where like there there are so many episodes about niche topics and it's stuff that people need to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, like, I don't think my mailing list realizes this, but so often I choose an episode with a particular person in mind. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know, like, oof, this is if this particular client reads this, I hope they feel validated because this relates to something we talked about in our coaching session this week. So, yeah, sometimes it's
Yeah.
secretly going out to one particular person, but they are not the only person. I mean,
Definitely.
we have people are making podcast episodes because this is a shared common experience. So that was
Yeah.
one thing I wanted to say. Um, and I appreciate the compliment about my my voice and my vibe coming through in my writing because that's important to me. I'll just be honest. It's hard to stand out in the world of ADHD coaching because it is an oversaturated market.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think when you are working with someone like a coach, a therapist, an instructor, like any place where you are working one-on-one closely with somebody and there's an element of vulnerability that's intended to lead towards change, finding the person who you have that fit with is so important. And I want I want who I am to come out through that mailing, through
Mm-hmm.
that podcast digest. And I think it does. Again, going back to teaching, like you can learn something about a person through what they take away from something they read or something they listen to. And I think, again, that last section in the podcast digest of what sticks with me, like that really is hey, this is who I am. This is the kind of thing that I emphasize in my coaching practice. This is a little bit about me as a human who's trying to navigate the world, especially right now. Um, and not every coach is for every person. I mean, I don't think you can market yourself as being for everyone in a way that is genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think being honest about who you are and marketing in an authentic way I mean, if you just want to think of it in terms of efficiency, like it saves time. I mean, if people know who you are and what you're about, it helps them make a more informed decision. And talking about going back to what you said about confidence, something I think I'm proud of that feels a little ballsy, honestly, is like I will often feature podcasts from other ADHD coaches who are currently accepting new clients. And again, like I want to put resources out there. And I feel like if somebody reads that, they click on that person's website, they read through it and realize, oh, you know what? This person's specialty is actually exactly what I'm looking for. And I didn't even know that somebody focused on like there are ADHD money coaches and there are neurodivergent parent coaches. Like neither of those is my particular specialty, but like if that's who somebody needs and I help them get there, I feel honored to do
Mm-hmm.
that. And again, it's just anything I can do to like clear the path for people to get to what they need, even if it's not from me, I'm okay with that.
Yes. Um, and that is, I think, why I was like, okay, we're going to be best friends because I feel like this genuine
I
spirit
love it.
of like being an
Thank you.
awesome person. And
Yeah. And to
that's who
give
I
another
connect with.
shout out, you and I were connected through Melissa Snow. And I think
Yes.
that's something that I really appreciate about Melissa is again, like she is all about putting the spotlight on other people and bringing other women in particular um, along with her for the ride and shouting out people who deserve credit for the good things that they're doing. So I've learned a lot from Melissa, and I don't think it's a coincidence that you and I found each other through
Through Melissa.
somebody who's doing
Yes.
exactly that.
Yes, exactly. And I just want to bring up because you know I love 80s and 90s. You're
Hmm.
also kind of making like a mixtape of your favorite. Like love song. Like I
That's
feel like
cool.
when you make a mixtape, right? You also, at
Yes.
least when I did, if I had a crush on somebody or whatever, and I was making a
Uh-huh,
mixtape,
uh-huh.
you're like, what are they gonna love? So like when you start talking
Yes.
about
Uh,
secretly sending a message to a client and hoping that they see it, that is
oh my
like
God.
the
I
secret.
feel so seen right now.
When you
But
make a
I had not
mixtape.
even made that connection, but I fucking love it. Thank you.
Yeah. So I just want to say and you know, I think it's also valuable. I'm just going to point this out too and just give you a bunch of praise. But like probably listening to just one person's podcast and their take on ADHD or neurodivergence or
Mhm.
honestly anything like marketing or
Yeah.
you know, people have these podcasts. Clearly, my podcast is not one of them where I only talk about one thing all the time and stay
Mhm.
focused.
Mhm. Yeah.
But
And again,
kind of,
authenticity. Yep.
yeah, tuning into something like that where they do, you know, I think it's nice that you're giving people options so that they can hear different people's expertise, different people's takes on
Yes.
things, plus
Yeah.
yours. Like, it's
Yes.
really, and I'm sure inviting people to listen and have their own because of your teaching background and like, what are you
Hmm.
think? Like, there's questions involved. Like, people are not just passively listening if they're reading the digest too. They're hearing what you're thinking. You're asking
Yeah.
questions like, what do you think? How does this relate to blah blah blah? It's like it's a whole experience where the person who originally made the podcast is involved, you're involved, and the listener is involved.
Hmm.
And I mean, I think that's a testament to you also being a English teacher because that's like
Thank you.
your bread and butter,
Yeah.
what you did. But
Yeah.
and when you were talking
Yeah.
about that too, like as art teacher, I loved also like showing a painting and we're going to talk about like what
Yes.
does this mean? What do you think the artist meant about this? And like you're saying, it's
Right.
different every time. And as the art teacher, I would teach it multiple times a day. Well, I guess as an English high school
Hmm.
English teacher, multiple times.
Right.
And like even class to class, I'm like, whoa, that was like completely different than the
Yeah.
last class. And just
Right.
everybody bringing their own lenses and their own experiences. And
I
I
love
just think
that.
it's really
Right. And
cool.
well, thanks. Yeah. And with art too, it's like there are common subjects that come up over and over again in um, pieces of art,
Mm-hmm.
you know, landscapes, flowers, humans, um, but so many different ways to do that. And opening kids' eyes or listeners' eyes or whoever you're working with to, oh, we could think about it from this angle. Or somebody who grew up this way might experience this topic this way, which is not the mainstream interpretation of this topic, but it is just as valid and it is just as needed. Um, and I think too, like I think something I want to push against by having this podcast digest is there's no universal definition for what it feels like to be someone with ADHD or to be someone on the spectrum or to be a late diagnosed adult or a neurodivergent parent or whatever it is that you are living. Like, there is no one way to do that. And I want to push back against any kind of messaging that there is only one way to do this, or you don't really have ADHD if you don't experience this thing. Like, that kind of gatekeeping is BS, and it's not helpful to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, this was awesome. I mean, anybody
Yeah.
listening, definitely find Kate and get this podcast digest if you're interested in seeing how she does it, seeing what she's saying. But tell everybody where they can find you and hang out with you.
I will. And I promise reading through the podcast digest will not take as long as listening to this episode because I was kind of long winded. But my website is Sage EF. It's for executive functioning. So sageef.com. And if you go to my contact tab, there's a place to sign up for the mailing list, which will get you the podcast digest every week.
Yay! And you have a beautiful 9 grid, which I know
do. Yes.
we work together on. Visuals by me, captions by Kate, and it's amazing too. Yeah. So you check into Instagram like once a week-ish.
Yeah. And I'm so thankful I've gotten more time back. I mean, I can focus on things like the podcast digest that mean more to me than Instagram. So thank you for getting me the gift of my time back.
Yeah. So probably if I do share this, I'm showing up in stories a little bit more these days. So I'll tag you, but people could also probably click on your link in your bio through Instagram if that's like easier on the internet, however you want to do stuff. But this was so fun. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm excited to continue our friendship.
Chat with
Maybe
you.
I'm being weird.
Yes,
but
me too. Okay. No, I love it. It's not weird at all. I love it. I'm thinking the same thing too. So thank you.
All right. See you soon.
All right. Bye.